First up on the show, big news coming from Russia. Jail authorities are saying that Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny has died in prison. As per authorities, Navalny felt unwell after a walk on Friday and lost consciousness. The medical staff was called in, but all efforts to revive him failed. Authorities say the cause of the death is being investigated. Navalny's team has not confirmed his death so far. They are learned to be headed to the Arctic prison colony where he was declared dead. The Kremlin spokesperson has also denied having information about Navalny's death so far.
Насколько мы знаем, сейчас в соответствии со всеми действующими правилами, всем занимаются всеми проверками, выяснением и так далее. То есть это уже каких-то не требуется поручений, потому что на этот счет есть определенный свод правил, которыми сейчас всем руководствуются.
Но уже есть сведения, что тромб оторвался.
Я не знаю. Должны медики как-то выяснить.
А кто должен? Кто должен?
Из Москвы был доложен.
World reactions are pouring in on the reports of Navalny's death. Norway's foreign minister said on social media that the Russian government bears a heavy responsibility for this death. The Latvian president has accused Kremlin of murder while offering his condolences to Navalny's relatives. France has reacted by saying that Navalny paid with his life for resisting Russian oppression. Sharing concerns, the NATO chief said all facts need to be established.
Deeply saddened and concerned about the reports coming from Russia that Alexei Navalny is dead. All the facts has to be established, and Russia has serious questions to answer. Alexei Navalny has been a strong voice for freedom, for democracy for many years, and NATO and NATO allies have called for his immediate release for a long time. And today my thoughts go to his family and his loved ones.
Navalny was the most prominent critic of the Russian President Vladimir Putin. He was serving a 19-year sentence on charges of extremism. We are awaiting more information on this developing story about the conditions surrounding his death. Navalny has been behind bars in Russia since January 2021. He had returned to Moscow after recuperating in Germany from a nerve agent poisoning that he blamed on the Kremlin. Before his arrest, Navalny had campaigned against official corruption and organized major anti-Kremlin protests as well. Navalny was given 3 prison terms and spent months in isolation in the penal colony number 6 for alleged minor infractions. Navalny rejected all charges against him as politically motivated.
Remarkably, Vladimir Putin faces a legitimate opponent, Alexei Navalny.
For more on this, we are now being joined by Fred Weir, journalist and political commentator from Moscow. Fred Weir, thanks for talking to us. Can you throw some more light on the circumstances under which Navalny has died? And has there been any official confirmation or word from Kremlin and his own team, as we speak?
Well, as to the circumstances of his death, I can't add anything to what is known. The Kremlin has said they're just learning of it. I'm sure there will be some sort of a statement, but of course it's official. It's the prison service which has announced it and rather quickly told us what we already know. So that's it. As for the moment, as far as hard information goes, but this will clearly be a major news story. People will be weighing in on it from every corner of the world. Navalny was, an important symbol of Putin's Russia and what happens when you take an opposing stand, as he did. And he went through many phases, from an activist, rather tolerated in his blogging activities, his anti-corruption activities, to being gradually shut down. And then this bizarre poisoning episode, which happened, and we all remember it. It also dominated the headlines for quite a while. And then he was put away by the Russian legal system for 19 years, as you mentioned. And now this. It is a bizarre story, and it says something about the trajectory of Russia in the past couple of decades. And I think that this will be the topic of conversation certainly for the coming period.
Right. An important point you're making that Fred Weir, that he was one of the most important or fiercest symbols of opposition to the Kremlin and to Putin particularly. There were some murmurs of protests here and there against the Russian leader, but he has been the staunchest critic of Putin. And as you said, there are bound to be reactions to this death, both domestically and worldwide, given that he was, the face of that protest and a significant leader in Russia, in Russia's opposition.
Well, yes, he was, it's debatable how big the opposition was that he led, but he certainly was the most intransigent, outspoken person. He was also effective in his anti-corruption activities. He would do these video blogs detailing the excesses of the wealthy, rich, about Putin's palaces and so on, which were very effective and well received, on his YouTube channel. And then there are these absolutely inexplicable things that happened to him, the Novichok poisoning, and now this, that just lie completely outside of the Russian legal system, which had dealt with him in its way. We can argue, and people do quite rightly argue, that it was politically motivated, but there were legal processes, there were court cases, charges, he was sentenced to prison, but it's these extra legal things that happen, the poisoning and now this, that raise the most worrisome questions about Russia under Vladimir Putin.
Mm-hmm. And this jail service at the Arctic Penal Colony that he was at is considered one of the toughest jails in Russia. So that also, of course, smacks of the kind of treatment that he would be getting there as well.
Well, sure, and in Russian prisons are not pleasant places. I don't say this with any first-hand knowledge, thank goodness, but I've known people and I've talked with people who've been through that, and it's not a good experience to be in a Russian prison, especially one north of the Arctic Circle, as Navalny was. It can't be good for your health at all, and yet even having said that, he was a relatively young man, and there were no really serious questions about his health until today. So obviously, people are going to regard this as a suspicious death, mm-hmm. and it's just part of the conversation about Russia that makes no sense to me. I live here. It's my life's work studying the place, writing about it, but I can't explain some of these things that happen.
Right, Fred, my last question to you. You did mention that this is official as it's coming from the prison services. There's an official comment from them, but this is not the first time that he has been declared dead. So, just rechecking those facts once again, as we haven't heard an official comment yet from the Kremlin.
Yeah, I think that it's just they will say something, but I think you can take it as hard news that he's dead. The prison service wouldn't announce it if he wasn't, and it's to their credit, I guess, that they did it so quickly. At least they got this out in the open, and there wouldn't, because there was some previous murkiness about him being moved and disappearing from sight for some period of time. So so now it's out there, and it's time to talk about it.
Fred Weir, thanks very much for joining us and sharing your thoughts on this big breaking news coming in. Russia's most significant opposition leader, Putin's most vociferous critic, is now declared dead.
Thank you.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.